Let's get started with the first slide. Here is our content, and this is what we're going to talk today. So understanding, the first one is understanding English language learners, then building a whole school approach, closing the learning gap, learning through the curriculum, and we'll talk about language acquisition and learning, and then adapting the classroom programs for ELLs. And then Dr. Alynne will talk about differentiation and differentiated instruction for ELLs. And we have short introduction about VIDA Can-Do descriptors as a free tool for ELL differentiation. Okay, the first slide that is about English language learners and people, educators and teachers and schools define them differently. And I would like to ask the question, so what challenges are most predominant in your experience? Can you quickly send us the chat, so, or we can speak since we are not many people here. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. How do you?
Yes.
Yeah,
so
that's
what
fine.
is your experience working with the English language learners, and how does your school or community define these people coming from different cultural backgrounds? As we have description here, so could you quickly elicit a little bit about your experience?
I'm Joni. I can start. Is that okay?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I had my video on, but somehow it got turned off. But anyhow, my name is Joni Conley, and I originally started in this field because I was a U.S. Peace Corps volunteer many years ago, and I taught in Slovakia in the early 90s, and I fell in love with it, and then I became an international teacher, regular teacher, because I was certified, I guess, as an elementary school teacher and a special ed teacher, and I have my Peace Corps training in ELL, and I'm currently teaching in Norway, so not far from you.
Yes.
I'm in an international school. I'm helping them start up. And I have kids from all over the world, as you would imagine. And my biggest challenge since we've gone online is I think that I'm just a natural ELL teacher. I teach all subjects in English. I'm animated. I use visuals. Kids learn they learn from all of those pieces that they're now not getting. And so I need help with some of my struggling young ones. I have a year 1 and 2, so 6, 7s, and I think maybe a couple 8s in there. I'm in an IB school, PYP, and I have a few kids who are lagging, and they need to have that intensive English extra class, and I want some extra stuff to provide for them in this format.
Great, thank you very much. Maybe anyone else?
Joanne, we will be addressing that issue and trying to help you with some strategies throughout this. I personally can give you one-on-one experience because I'm working online with children in China who haven't been out of the house for 3 months. So when the time comes and we get further into the webinar, I'm more than happy to help you or address some of these issues with you.
Okay, super. We're going on our 4th week now inside, so.
Okay, there are a lot of definitions around and labels that people use in different schools. So shortly talking about English language learners, they are a tremendously diverse group representing a number of languages, ethnicities, cultures, nationalities, and socioeconomic backgrounds, right? And the ELL students may face a variety of challenges that could be adversely affect their learning progress and academic achievements, such as poverty, non-citizenship status, and many challenges that can be there. So currently the research that VIDA does, I'm not sure if you're familiar with VIDA organization, students, they define ELLs, students may be referred to as English language, English learner like EL, or emergent bilingual EB, or dual language learner DLL, for children, especially those who are in early childhood settings. So there are a lot of definitions, but what we like, me and Dr. Alynne, we call our students as learners with cultural backgrounds and learners with diversities, right? Okay, moving to the next slide. We thought, like, how could schools build a whole school approach to welcome and support ELLs and their parents during campus closure, and especially when they are learning online. So creating comprehensive and culturally responsive approach to serving ELLs is very important, since they are staying at home, they are locked down, and the comprehensive, I mean, creating differentiated strategies for these kids that we will share later, you will see, is very important. Also creating a responsive room and environment for these learners is also important. So if we put up offline, when we are offline even, or online, posters, flags, images, like people featured on school walls, this would be also a nice thing to do. Also, making the curriculum relevant is very essential, since English language learners might face difficulties understanding the instruction, especially when they are online. Using variety of teaching modalities, so teacher as a model, teacher as a self-directed learner can model different strategies and deliver the classes so that ELLs do not feel stressed and they can perform well during online learning and teaching. So familiarizing yourself with cultural norms, it's also very important, online or offline, since English language learners are students coming from different countries, ethnicities, as I said, and considering the culture in this regard is also essential. So when we get to know students and their contextual skills and educational backgrounds, helps us to understand them better, understand the parents, understand the families, and then create something together that helps and supports language learners. Also, we can distinguish between academic English and conversational home and family English. It means that what we mean here is that academic English is different from conversational English, because as soon as English language learners start speaking and talking, so the assumptions from the school or maybe from parents' sides is that they are ready to exit the program or start learning independently, especially when they are in the environments when they can't understand sometimes or comprehend language-heavy subjects such as INS, language and literature, or history or chemistry, when they need simultaneously to express themselves. This is a big challenge. So when we honor students' first languages, when we bring their home and family language in the classroom, and we become kind of models, and we become a language learner, and we try to bring the home and family language in the classroom, and we start learning from our kids also integrating their home and family language in the classroom. So then this creates a very peaceful environment, and there is no the barrier between students and the teacher. So if we encourage bringing these languages in the classroom, is also would be very helpful. Okay, maybe Dr. Alynne can talk about learning strategies, right?
Sure. This is a virtual time. And so one of the things that I've done with the parents I'm dealing with abroad is I'm speaking to them. I don't mind if they sit to the side and they help and prompt their students, but we create a family plan so that the child feels that they are very, very successful, that we are not really putting on them higher expectations, that because there is a limit to what these parents and families can do. It's also important to ensure that you know the expectations of what those parents have for you as the teacher in this virtual space. So do they expect you to administer the entire program, or are they happy with you administering a facsimile thereof where their child is able to speak English and converse with you so that they know that they are bringing their family life and what is going on into the classroom? It's important for both the teacher and the parents to establish a schedule so that children are used to routine. So if we establish a schedule ourselves and we present at the same time with the same children, and the parents know that this is the time, and then encouraging the parents to set aside a time when the child can just converse with them, and then follow through for whatever minimal homework that we've given to them, is incredibly beneficial. By previewing lessons and assignments, it essentially means that if you are able to communicate with the parents in a Google Classroom, in the States we have something called Canvas, in which we post things and we let them know the lessons and assignments. With that said, we suggest, particularly with English language learners, that we review the lessons and the assignments for them so that they know where we're going as we move forward. It's important to say to these children, especially depending on the time of the day, because I'm 12 hours ahead with China, I'll say to the children, oh, what did you do today? Was it sunny or was it cloudy? How are you feeling? Where do you live? What city do you live in? Have you eaten dinner? And by doing that, the children are able to go back and think about what they did, and they're sharing with you on a personal basis. And that really helps to engage them. It's very important to enforce both with families and yourself, and it's sort of a self-discipline, is that don't miss the live lessons. Don't shift or somehow don't miss it. If the children think that you're going to be on, and sometimes they'll go online before you do. And what I always do is I write a little note to them, which I don't think you're able to, but I can. But I also speak to them, even if I'm not on screen. I'll be right with you, but I'm just making a few notes. So you can think about how your day was, or get all your materials together. The child needs to know that you are available to them as well as their parents are available to them. Essentially, what their parents need to do is let them know that they will be there to help them. So this brings out one of the issues that a co-teacher and a colleague of mine brought out, and that is, how do we ensure follow-through with a parent who is not necessarily a non-native speaker? Have you found anything, and I'll throw this out there right now, to be effective as a tool? Because I'd love to hear your experiences when you've been dealing with parents who are non-native speakers, because I think all of us can use that insight to help us when we are sharing with the children and asking them to do something that they haven't done during, the time that you're working, you sort of said to them, okay, I want you to play with, tell me about a toy tomorrow, or what did you have for dinner? I actually had a parent, as I was clocking off, say to me, but what's dinner? So, the idea of supper or a meal or dinner to different speakers is different. So have any of you had any non-native speaking parents, and what strategies or what did you use as a tool to work with them, particularly now that we're dealing with them virtually? I'm more than open to hear what you're doing. Anybody?
I'll speak to that. So I use a Padlet during the day, and I put all of my lessons and activities on there, and so did the specialists. And in addition to that, my kids upload their work to Toddle. I use a program called Toddle, and the parents also have an app on their phone with that, and I write messages, things that might be, for example, if I'm going to play a game, I'm going to have a Zoom game with a kids online game, and they need to bring an instrument. I'm actually doing that tomorrow, and our fun Friday before we leave for the holiday. And I write it on Toddle, and then the parents can then translate it. They can take a screenshot of it and use Google Translate, or however they need to do it. But I follow up with some short written explanation somewhere. Before I had that, I used to use Class Tag, but I always do that because I, in fact, have many parents that cannot speak English.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I use something called Class Dojo as well, and that seems to be very helpful. I appreciate that sharing model, because I think it is very important. What we have to, you moved it from where I was, Valerian, thank you. So one of the things I just want to say to you is, make sure that the child knows you're available, that there's a quiet space, that it's monitored, that it's comfortable. As I said before or earlier, it's nice if a parent's sitting beside them. The problem becomes an issue when the parents start prompting and answering for them, or don't give them the time in which to sort of process in their own minds and speak. Make sure you set some goals. We all set goals in our regular classrooms. There's nothing wrong with trying to set goals in the virtual classroom as well. What are we going to do today? Let's try and do this. We'll be spending so much time with a warm-up, so much time on possibly just an introductory activity, so much time if we're deciding to focus on grammar or something else. Then that is very, very effective, because that's the focus and the child knows. And each day it can be a different focus. We need to give the kids ownership for themselves and for their learning. And this is an important thing, especially in a virtual world. And we need to encourage them to read, to socialize, even if it's virtually, with us and with their friends, and also to elicit help. We need to be available to help them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alynne. Such interesting and very useful thoughts about strategies. Now let's shortly talk about advantages of co-teaching and small group instruction online.
This is incredibly beneficial right now if you are online, because two heads are better than one. And we talk about differentiation in the classroom and working together with a co-teacher, whether it is just assisting in the planning and then implementing afterwards. But in a co-teaching small group instruction online, the teachers can jointly plan the instruction using the vehicles of Zoom or Google Suites or Google Classroom or even Skype. And in this particular case, if you have a small group of children and you are working with another teacher, not necessarily a specialist teacher, but perhaps even the homeroom teacher, you can divide the children into small groups, and you can simultaneously provide instruction, or you can alternatively provide instruction with one group and then move to the other group. One of the advantages of co-teaching and small group instruction online is there is increased collaboration and use of differentiated teaching strategies. This is what we want for all our diverse learners. don't want them to adhere to the same structure as the regular curriculum, whatever that regular curriculum is, but rather that we are considering where they are in their development of the English language, and we are differentiating for them. We need to have and impart to our host teachers, because we are considered the specialists, an increased understanding of what diverse students require. So we're not necessarily going to give them a ton of homework. We may want to give them homework where they're going to have to converse with us the next day. We may ask them to help set the table and then talk about what they did the next morning. We need, with the co-teaching and small group instruction online, it provides enhanced learning environments for the child, because there's two people there and they're two different bents to things. We're lifelong learners. We should be able to share our experiences and also draw on each other as a springboard for the lessons that we are administering. This really helps with diverse students insofar as it makes them feel that we are taking their lives into account. We are looking at them as the whole child. We are looking at them regardless of what their diversity is. We are saying to them, you can do this, and we are going to help you. So there are advantages of co-teaching, because we also, at the end of a co-teaching experience, even if I were to be on a screen and just listening and Valerian was administering the lesson, the beauty of this is afterwards giving feedback. What do you think the child did get from this lesson? Or what do you think the child didn't get for this lesson? Let's brainstorm this and maybe work together so that tomorrow's lesson is a lot more productive. So these are some of the advantages of co-teaching and reaching out to the teachers within your school network with regards to the children that are identified and in your individual classrooms.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alynne. Any questions here? Any thoughts?
Is anybody doing any co-teaching or interacting with the other teachers to sort of balance your curriculum that you're administering?
In my school, we are required to do that because we are an IB school. So I'm PYP, and I meet twice a week in a group with my assistant teacher and the special ed teacher and the PYP coordinator, and we plan our lessons together. And then
people are just waiting for the bubble to burst. So
have some background.
For buying media. That is how it works. Exactly. And if you're planning to be there a long time, who cares?
What are we patching into?
Easy.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
so you're in a good situation anyway.
Joni, have you had the
Are you need to like
opportunity
reuse?
to work online with
Yeah,
these,
even if the market is down,
or
you're still
meet with them to
I was
plan?
in Claremont, so even though the market's down, you're still sitting pretty good. We're just, no matter what, we're in the, vacation capital of the world.
Yes, there is an echo in the background. Is somebody online that has something behind them?
No.
Is someone listening to something? If so, we
Okay,
probably.
that's fine, I think. Yes.
Thank you. So Joni, have you had this same opportunity while you're online currently? Yes, no? Has she left us?
No, I think she's still here. But it's okay, we can talk later about this also, right?
I'm here.
Oh, great. So
I'm here.
My question, that's okay. We had a bit of an echo in the background. The question that I have for you then is, if you are collaborating in your IB school in the PYP program, have you had the same opportunity now that you're at home?
Yes, we meet twice a week on Zoom meetings, the teachers, and we also agreed to just last week that we split the morning meeting, because I have 24 children and I have all different levels and students with special needs as well. So we split the class in two, and my assistant takes half the kids and I take half the kids, and then we switch in the afternoon. So what you're saying is exactly right. The kids are now communicating more. There's fewer kids on the Zoom screen. There's more opportunities to talk. Kids aren't as intimidated. And the input from the special ed teacher, my PYP coordinator, and my assistant, we've been able to create some really wonderful lessons, albeit different than in school, but we're getting there. Every week it gets a little better.
That's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much, right? Okay, let's move on. And our next slide is about students' first language skills in online classroom experiences and instructional support. So we pulled out here on our slide different applications and strategies that we can use online with our students, especially with those who are struggling learning English. And the first, we have YouTube videos. Everybody knows that there are a range of variety of different tools on YouTube, videos and lessons, so we can choose ready-made videos also and share with our students for listening, for speaking, practicing their conversational English even. There are some live videos going on, live online books that people are reading to different countries and to different platforms. So why not to use YouTube for that as well? Online conversations, so as Dr. Alynne mentioned, so we can build live conversations with our students without any worksheets even, and speak about for 10-15 minutes about how is their day going and what are they experiencing, what are the challenges, so that we can build on this conversation as well. And this creates then a personal atmosphere when students are not stressed out or feeling guilty that they can't speak. So instead they can watch something or listen to a video or watch a cartoon or animated movie even with subtitles. So this would help a lot. So minimizing the material, yes, I would say there is no need to send worksheets or showing the kids from the screen. This is the worksheet you have to print out and work on. We can create Google Docs, we can create, as we said, Canvas or any other application that students can work online, right? So encouraging using, again, home and family language. So if parents don't speak English, so it's easier for them if we communicate with them and tell them that you can use them home and family language to help your children to understand the context and comprehend what they are learning. Reviewing previous learning is also very important. Again, building on, for example, how did you do in math and what problems you had there, or how was your science class and what did you learn there, right? So again, describing this, so to say, learned previous material is also helpful. Students' home engagement, and we talk here about taking into account parents may have a very basic understanding of the English language. So again, talking, for example, Estonia, there are a lot of Estonian, Russian-speaking families who might not speak the English language. So here I am to offer, you can use home and family language, and again, try help your child or friend or someone, brother or sister, to make this learning environment fun also, right? So encouraging students to take pictures and share them online as well. So many students, for example, my students have a lot of pets at home, or they have different rooms, even indoor swimming pools, and they take pictures and they do share, and I do ask them to explain and demonstrate. So what can you see in the picture? And here comes the conversation where they can practice prepositions and they can practice their thinking skills as well, right? While explaining the things that they do every day, right? Everyday routines. So playing interactive games online, for example, Kahoot is one of the best application that I use with my students, where I can share the screen and play Kahoots. For example, we talk about different units. For example, if we talk about countries, so we can do the quiz about London, for instance, and see what sites are there, since we have so many open museums right now online. So I can send the link and ask the students, okay, let's take a picture or pick a picture that you want to talk about, and let's describe, let's talk. Why did you like it? What do you see in the picture? This, again, the conversation creates a very peaceful learning environment. Brain Pop is also one of the best, I would say, application, which is free for now. So you can download, you can install and invite your students to participate in different fun activities. There are a lot of videos, there are online games in this application where students can play and then later share with you and say, okay, this is what I played, this is what I liked, for example, in this game. And there are specific characters in this environment in Brain Pop, so lessons are quite well planned over there. So also songs, short stories, songs. So some kids are very talented and they can sing and dance. Why not to ask them, okay, prepare a song and perform in front of a class, or record a video and share with us, right? So you can teach the steps, for instance, how to do it if you dance. So tell us, how did you learn these steps? And then we can together dance, for instance, right? So short stories on Epic. So Epic is also available for free for parents. We can invite even parents into this application, and students can read lots of books. There are a lot of visuals, a lot of listening activities. So sometimes when students are tired and they want to just lie down in the sofa and start reading something. So there are read to me activities on Epic, where students just sit, close their eyes and listen to the book, and later on the next day or after 20 minutes when they read a short story, they can come back and again share with other students in online environments. So there are a lot of applications that we can use, ready-made applications that don't take so much time from us as teachers to plan, and we can integrate these applications and teaching strategies in the class.
May I interject also,
Yeah.
Valerian? Drawing on what Joni said earlier on, that, you know, with the non-native speakers and sending something that the parents could use, and you addressed Google Translate. We have found in our experience, both Valerian and I, that Google Translate is not that accurate, and there are some really big gaps. So on the other hand, we use other means to have translation. Do you want to hit on those, Valerian, please?
Yes, sure. There are online dictionaries. For example, Cambridge Online Dictionary has variety of translations, almost all the European languages, and also Asian, like Japanese, Chinese, even Russian language. So it gives the accurate translation. And also when you type the word and you want to see the definition, it gives you grammatical structure of the word, what part of speech is it, the translation, then example, the picture as well, if it is available. For example, book. So it will pop up the book, and you can ask the student to, okay, you read the official, so to say, definition of the word. Now, can you tell me in your own words what it means, right? There is also another dictionary, vocabulary.com, which is also very interactive interactive, so kids can play with different new vocabulary. When they learn new vocabulary, there are multiple choices that they can learn. For example, per day you can assign 10 words, 15 words, 20 words, depending on the age. And you can also register as a teacher and invite students to this application, and they can learn new words, new vocabulary. Also, Merriam-Webster's dictionary is very useful. So we have as paper-based dictionary, and there is also online one. So I encourage even parents in sending them, sharing them on our online applications, because in PYP, primary years program, for instance, we use Seesaw, and I do share the links over there so parents can access, or by email if we use email also. So these are very useful and quite up-to-date online dictionaries. Okay, moving on. So maybe Dr. Alynne can comment on this slide.
Sure. Early exposure to reading and storytelling. Well, first of all, children love to tell stories. They love to use their imagination. They love to bring in things that they have done. So it makes it personal for a student, and particularly with our diverse learners, because they can bring in stories. We had a little girl who had a diversity, and she loved birds. And all she did was draw these beautiful birds. She was a magnificent artist. And in addition to drawing the birds, she ended up telling us a story. And in fact, the parent indicated afterwards, she was from a Russian family, that in fact, that's what she read to the child every single night. So within their cultural backgrounds, there are so many stories they've heard, and then they bring it into their own lives. So we need to have them make it personal and accept the sharing of these ideas in their imagination. It involves the 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing. And again, we have students that we saw that could not communicate with us at all, but through gifts that they had in other areas, whether it was the art or in music or in dance or in drama, that they were using their creativity and imagination to convey to us. And we use that as a springboard in which to speak to the children and bring it back unto themselves. It fosters a means of comprehension, because when they're telling a story, we have the issue of beginning and middle and end. So that we use in most things that we're doing in life. So by children telling the story, it does foster comprehension and logic. It's very important to look at the kids' interests. And again, it's just simply saying, what did you do today? What do you like doing? Oh, I rode my bike. Do you like riding a bike? Why do you like riding a bike? Do you like art? Why do you like art? Do you like to draw? Those kinds of things. So let's look at their interests when we are teaching them, and even more so when we're online, because now their days are very restrictive, and so we need to just pull out of them what they're enjoying, the things that they are enjoying to do right now. It integrates different subject areas. You know, you're telling a story, you can bring that into role-playing skits, and you can even do a dialogue between parent, teacher, student. The other important thing you need to know about storytelling is the more times the child tells a story, the more it's retained in the layers of memory. It's just like what I grew up with, which is rather dated now, but it's the 4 square cue. And that's where you read, repeat, recall, revisit, you write. And every time that child speaks, it goes a little bit more into memory. And when we're telling them a story and they're telling us a story, and we repeat it and we discuss it and we visit it, and maybe we revisit it the next day, the child is actually developing language in their minds.
Right, very, very, very thoughtful. So in my experience, I can say that storytelling really made me feel and understand my students better than, you know, any other situation. So when I ask, okay, tell me about yourself. So write, so draw a picture and display, show me what do you think or feel, or what do you want to say. So drawing helps so much to make our students start speaking from the very beginning when they come without any English. So here is an example that I want to show you. So there is, this is one of my students' work, and you can see so how the student drew pictures and then how the interpretation of the story goes on, emotions. We have different situations, right? And as you see from the text, there comes grammar, there comes punctuation, spelling, paragraphing, dialogue. So it helps me to discover the hidden talents that the students have, and the storytelling makes our students to talk and express themselves through stories. So another example, Dr. Alynne, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to say that one of the important things that Valerian did with this particular student was he actually got hold of the book and he broke it down so that it was less, but it was still in the same context, because this child simply didn't have the language acquisition in order to be able to interpret. And by doing this, I just want you to look at these pictures. He elicited such a response from this child to show how she felt. She even came up with the story of a new student to school. This was completely unknown to him and to myself, because I was also working with this child. But by breaking it down, making the text smaller and allowing her to tell the story in this way, made it attainable for her. She was able to actually feel successful. And it's evident by what you see on the page. I apologize for interrupting.
That's fine. So there is another example of a scrapbook. So it is a novel, Things They Carried, written by Tim O'Brien, right? And then the use of symbolism. So the student had to read the whole book. And this is what we did. We broke it down literally in small pieces. So we discussed the vocabulary, we discussed the symbolism, and then I asked the student, okay, let's visually represent some of the significant symbolisms using different art techniques. So this is then a beautiful example of how students can express their selves through drawings. There comes their creativity and celebration of their talents. Dr. Alynne, you want to say anything else?
No, I just wondering how you may have elicited talking or storytelling within your virtual experience. Joni, the last 4 weeks, or anybody else who has been participating in virtual learning. Anyone? Well, then we'll move forward.
Right.
Well, I just wanted to give someone else a chance to talk. But
there aren't many of us here, so we're
okay. Well, we have morning meeting every morning before I teach them out. Then I ask kids to tell me about, I have a prompt to, if it's something they did over the weekend or something that they missed from their home country, or a special celebration, or we do something similar to this, and the kids often have a lot to say. I just jotted down the idea of then having that be their writing experience that afternoon, because I hadn't thought of that. In the classroom, I'd have a writing prompt also every day when I was in my physical classroom, and kids wrote about things from home, and it was special to them, just like you were saying. But now it's a little different. So I get the storytelling piece, but I haven't followed through with the writing for it. So I'm going to try that when we come back from break.
And I love the fact, we just got a comment from one of our other participants that said, I love morning meeting. It's a perfect opportunity to bring these aspects into the classroom. And it is, you know,
Yeah.
I think you used a different context, Valerian, when you were describing it. You said you had the bell ringer.
Mm-hmm.
Was it bell ringer activity or what it was that you did with the child to begin your lessons?
Yeah, different kinds of activities, talking about the stories, for example, or, okay, let's look outside, what is happening, what can you see, that makes them start talking, right, and feel comfortable in front of the class and in front of the teacher and everybody around in the morning circle. Right.
I think one of the things we also have to consider that's very important is we can't skirt around the issue and talking to these children, regardless of what their age is, of what is currently going on and the fact that they are at home, predominantly at home, and not venturing out elsewhere. And, you know, we have to be very emotionally cognizant of the feelings these children are having of not being with their friends, you know, not having the other kinds of interactions that they would normally have in clubs and outside of school. So I think it's very important to give them this opportunity of telling you through storytelling, through drawing, through depictions of things, how they're feeling right now. And there's nothing wrong with us saying, you know, it's hard to be inside, you know, and it's tough outside and it's really difficult. And I think that helps as well when we're trying to promote the child sharing not only their gifts and their talents, but also their feelings.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
I also start on my Padlet every morning early before morning meeting because my kids wake up at 7 in the morning and 6, and they used to zoom into my meeting at 6:30 and 7 in the morning, and it doesn't start until 9, and I would jump out of bed and my phone would be ding, ding, ding. So I started putting on the Padlet at 8 o'clock. I told them to start with the VOOKs. I don't know if you're familiar with VOOKS, the VOOKs stories. And every story you can imagine is on this program, and it's free for teachers for a year right now. And it reads the story to them, but if they can read, they can read it. But it also is narrated and highlights every word that the narrator is saying. So the kids are doing that before they come to morning meeting. And some mornings we just talk about how do we relate to the characters in the story. So, you know, if the kids are outside playing or planting or riding a unicorn or whatever, it's a chance for them to connect to the character, which is great for, you know, school, English, reading. But they can also bring their feelings into it and say, like, well, yeah, I'm really missing going outside, and I wish I could play or cut flowers for spring, you know, in the stories. They're making these comments, and it's a chance for me to be the counselor too, to help, you know, say, you know, but think of how safe you are, and we're only doing this so that you don't get sick, and so we're staying inside, we're still learning, and we're still having fun, and we're still together. But I also am struggling with trying to find ways for the kids to connect without me, because not all parents are comfortable with their kids doing Zooms or FaceTimes or those kinds of things. So.
Right. Thank you for sharing.
Can you contribute anything to that, Valerian, with regards to the children, if the parents are not comfortable with the media platform, what you have used both in the classroom and now?
Yeah, as I said, for example, Epic has option that it reads to you, right? If you have a tablet or phone, right? It works on all kinds of, media technology. So you can use the headphones and just not even look into the screen, right? And just listen. Put it on and listen to someone reading a book to you. So this is what I read to avoid the screen time.
Have you ever
And the
considered?
speakers.
Have you ever considered, Joni, possibly just asking the teacher to come on, the parent to come on the screen, and just sharing with them what you would want them to do?
Yeah, they're a lot, I have the young kids, so the parents are always around in the background anyway. That's why I started adding some more Zoom meetings just for fun activities and not school related, to play games. And I've come up with a lot of fun things like Simon Says and Go Find Something Blue. You have 5 seconds, come back and show it. But I have, I built up this repertoire already of games because the kids need that socialization, and that's where language acquisition happens. And how do I facilitate that on a computer? So I feel like I should work on my doctorate on the side, because there's all this research that could be done, right?
Yes.
So I don't know.
I just want to use a split screen, or bring 2 children into it, and you're sort of moderating, and they can talk or share with each other.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I guess we were just talking about this as a school, is like, we're providing full schedules. The parents are paying money for this program, and we're providing a full schedule. And there's also PE, and there's music and art teacher and all this stuff. And we're talking about limiting it so that we can have more social time, because it's not the same as a physical school building, and we have to think about that. So.
And that leads into our next slide, frankly, which is the differentiation, because we are not in the classroom any longer. And so with that said, there are some subjects that we may just have to forego. Or when you mention PE, you could have one 5 minutes when you're putting on music and saying, let's go, let's do our arms. Let's go, let's do some singing, and that kind of thing. But this idea of having a child virtually online for what is equivalent to a regular school day is just not workable, not for the teacher, and certainly not for the child. It's eye strain for starters, and for both of you. Plus, it's very difficult because it's an overload. So one of the ideas of differentiation, the idea of differentiation has to be considered, and we've run into difficulties with this in the past and even now, insofar as there are teachers, particularly abroad, who are transient. They're there for 2 or 3 years and then they leave. So for us, it's always feels like we have to re-educate them to the fact that children who are diverse learners cannot be administered a standard type program. So they have to differentiate. They have to bring talking into the mix. You need to have ongoing discussions. You need to laugh, tell jokes, be silly. You want online to have an inviting atmosphere. You want them to know that you value them and it's a pleasant place to be. And again, we're talking about this idea of compassion and caring. We really want them to feel that we're still in their corner and we care about them, and we care about the fact that they're inside now and they're unable to see their friends. So what can we do to make them happy or to share? One of the most important things is complex tasks definitely need to be handed down, particularly for the PYPs, or the elementary students and the middle school students. These children, if they're virtually there, they do not have the resources that they would normally have. So we need to break it down, and less is more, and making it simple. And we need to let them know that how they're doing, and we need to give them consistent feedback. We need to encourage them to want to still learn, because it is a difficult time. We need to have the support to support the student so that they don't become confused. Our directions, our instructions to any of these children need to be very simple and precise, that they understand what they're doing. It's something as simple as playing tic-tac-toe. When I'm on the screen with the child, and I don't know whether you can do this or not, but I will literally take my pencil and put an X and an O and say, this is what we will be using. Then I use another arrow to go across or at a diagonal or down so that the child understands completely exactly what it is that we are going to be doing and how we are going to play. If I have a die on the screen, it's, can you tell me that number now? What's this picture? But prior to that, I've already gone through the pictures with the children. So this is a way of making it structural and heading off this confusion. It's important to elicit the parents' cooperation and assistance. We're a team now, we're a team with our teachers or our co-teachers, but we also need to have the parents be a team with us. They may not like the virtual world, but why couldn't they make a meal with their children? And the child starts to learn about measurement. They learn about different kinds of foods. They learn about the instruments that you use to eat with. That's just a small example of the parents being able to work hand in hand with the child. Most importantly, mistakes are a way of life. That's how we learn. And it's so important, particularly now, because the children don't see us, that we tell them that it's okay, or we, instead of saying, no, that was wrong, just repeat the sentence in the correct way that we want them to say it, so that they feel comfortable and we're not pointing a finger. And I think this is a big thing that happens in the classroom very often, that these children are not given the opportunity to respond. They give an incorrect answer and the teacher moves on to somebody else. So we have to remember to let them feel their way through and make these corrections. And first and foremost, be positive, optimistic, not only about their learning right now in the virtual world, but about what's going on outside. So, with that said, have you differentiated in a manner that we haven't listed here?
Well, I mean, you said not to do like handouts to try to avoid worksheets, but when I teach math on my Zoom whiteboard, and then I give them exercises to do because my second graders are doing 3 digits and arrays and that kind of thing right now, place value. And I have a membership to Twinkle, which I am in love with. And they have everything in Arabic and, French and many languages. So occasionally I throw in some, Hindi or whatever, like things that I find online, and the kids go nuts. They absolutely love it. So I try to do that to represent the mother tongue, but I am a special ed teacher as well as a regular teacher, so I'm differentiating everything. So like both in how I speak to kids, and how the questioning is different for certain kids than it would be for others, or how kids are allowed to answer online. I've kind of made up my own little system as I'm going along. But, and I keep doing webinars every other day. I'm signing up for something to get new tricks.
Good for you. That's valuable information. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. So I will shortly talk about VIDA and the can-do descriptors. So VIDA, as or you're maybe familiar with, so it is an international school consortium, a network of more than 400 member schools, and it advances academic language development and academic achievement for children and youth who are culturally and linguistically diverse. So VIDA uses high quality standards, assessments, and research and professional learning for educators, teachers. I myself, I'm a certified VIDA administrator, so I test students when they come, so when we place them into the ELL program and also when we exit them from the ELL program. So using can-do descriptors in the following ways, like we have here collaboration and engagement in conversations about the language, so it can advocate for language learners to have equitable access to developmentally appropriate content. And as we talk about differentiation, so it helps us to differentiate instruction and classroom assessment. Also, can-do descriptors can be understood as an access for ELL test scores, and these descriptors are downloadable for free from the organization called VIDA. If you just Google, and then later we can also send the link to you. So the can-do descriptors are designed to help classroom teachers understand what their students at different levels of English proficiency should be able to do in regular content area classrooms. So the tasks are separated into 4 domains. So we have reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And these descriptors can help you look at the activity you plan to do with your English speaking students and learners, then scale and back for ELL students so that they are still interacting with the academic content and just at a simplified level. So if you can take a look at the criteria there and tables, they are quite useful in any subject area we teach, right?
Valerian,
you want to?
one of the things that I wanted to point out is, as a student support coordinator, when I was working with Valerian, and we were collaborating on an ongoing basis for 2 solid years, one of the things I discovered were that these can-do descriptors are absolutely wonderful for students with other diversities, with students with other exceptionalities. They're also a fantastic springboard for those teachers to know exactly where those kids are so that the planning is appropriate, that the differentiation does take place, that the sharing between teachers takes place so that these children are differentiated for and accommodated for. So these particular can-do descriptors actually go across the board. And it's not just restricted to non-native speakers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move on.
So, as we come to a close, one of the things we were talking about is some of the upcoming seminars that we were going to offer via Zoom. One of them is Jolly Phonics. I've been using Jolly Phonics, and I'm Jolly Phonics, registered as a Jolly Phonics trainer. And Valerian, when I came to the school, he had some of it, but we brought in a lot more materials. And it's a wonderful synthetic phonic program in the classroom to use with students. It's not rote. It actually uses phonics as the child would be learning to speak. So the PBMs and these sounds. So there will be a webinar specifically addressing Jolly Phonics. And for those interested, there's a possibility of doing an online training and providing you with this certificate, so that if your school is interested, you can take it back to them and train the teachers to implement this incredible program that is kinesthetic, musical, encompasses grammar and phonics, and talks about children from 3 all the way up. So it's an
I'd be interested
program.
in it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you send me the link, I'll sign up.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for Dr. Alynne, because this is how I got to know Jolly Phonics. This is a really I don't know how can I say, so diverse, lots of interactive activities. You can be a creative teacher, you know, teaching students, and it engages everybody in the classroom. It differentiates the learners so they can start from the very beginning understanding the sounds, phonics, and reading. So I have students, for example, coming with no English at all in grade 1, and after a semester, so semester later, I see that kids start talking and also reading. So correct way of reading and not using the rote ABC, right? So this is a very cool, very interesting program that we can also address and talk about. So next is about ELLs in the IB programs, right?
Yes, what we have found in our experience is that English language learners have a tendency to be lost in an IB school simply because it's an open-ended critical thinking program, and these children are having enough trouble thinking in English because they always think in their host language. So we wanted to address how to work with diversity in the international baccalaureate program that not only takes place abroad, but is very much upfront in the United States and in Canada. So Valerian, who is currently working in the IB school that I was in for 2 years, is going to share with you, and we're hoping to possibly have somebody else share with you how we deal with diversity in these particular programs, particularly when the students haven't got a clue about self-direction because they just don't have the long language comprehension.
You know what I've noticed in the IB schools as I'm teaching around in different countries is all of them have this preschool jolly phonics going on, and then once they get to year 1, it stops. And and phonics doesn't stop. Like that needs to be carried on at least to like year 3, 4, especially because you have first kids with no language, no English coming in sometimes in the 5-year-old, but the year 5 class, not right. I don't know, because your words are different. I'm thinking I'm from the US originally, so it's not first, second, third, but like 5th grade, kids can come in and have no English skills. So why are we not using this phonics-based program throughout the IB? Like, just because we're doing IB doesn't mean that we need to stop direct teaching and teaching, focusing on certain skills and language acquisition. And every school I've been in, I've been adamant about that. I'm like, I'm still teaching reading and writing and listening and speaking aside from the unit of inquiry. I'll include it when I can, but my kids will be good speakers when they leave my classroom.
And you're absolutely right. This is the biggest challenge that Valerian and I found working in IB schools. The biggest challenge. And I worked in several IB schools all around the world, and this is the biggest challenge that they seem to forget as soon as they enter into PYP. And you were referring to PYP 5, which is great in the United States, that these children still don't know how to decode words. You know, like as soon as they can speak, they know it all. And this isn't the fact. And WIDA addresses that and says it's only after 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years, that the child is competent enough to be reintegrated into a regular classroom. So I get absolutely right with regards to that. And that's something that we're hoping to discuss and get a lot of feedback from. So thank you.
Yeah, I support it. If the kid doesn't know his letter sounds, it's kind of hard for him to say, I'm a knowledgeable person. I'm a thinker. I'm an effective communicator. I'm a risk taker, but he doesn't know how to say la or ba,
Right. You're absolutely right. And we've encountered this on numerous occasions.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and the next one we have self-directed learning and teaching, right?
Yep.
We have one of our colleagues, Valerian and I were most fortunate to be mentored by one of our colleagues as self-directed learners and teachers. And subsequently, we imparted this information onto children. So she doesn't know yet, but we're hoping to bring her on to do some exercises and explain the self-directed learning process and how it can impact not only you as an individual and your planning and your mindset, but also how you can help the mindset of your children.
Right, and I want also to comment here because since I started doing this program and involved in the self-directed learning and teaching, it helped me to clarify so how I should act in the classroom as a teacher, and then how should I self-direct my learners to become independent learners, right? When we talk about IB learner profile, which said that, yes, I'm independent learner, so what can I do? Can I self-evaluate myself, for example, or can I do it on my own without any help or instruction, right? So this is a very interesting approach, and I hope that we'll have the opportunity to share this webinar with you.
Storytelling in a virtual world. We have a colleague of mine who is a media specialist in the United States and was up in Virginia and is now down in Florida, is really a proponent of storytelling. So we're hoping to have her share with you the background about storytelling and the tools that you will be able to use with your diverse learners when you want to tell stories or build on your current programs. So that's another one that we are hoping to share.
Okay, good.
The primary years program exhibition, if you're in an IB school, this is the time that the children transition into grade 6. And this primary years program exhibition is a tool that the teachers should be using to have the children engage in research and bringing all the skills that they have learned in elementary school as they move into the middle school platform. We also have a teacher who has done that for over 15 years, and he has been incredibly successful with this program. We're hoping to have him be present. If not, Valerian and I have mentored, as has our other colleague who we're hoping to bring in for the self-directed learning. She has actually mentored for at least 3 years now a student and has a firm knowledge of this primary years program exhibition and how to let the children shine. So this is something that we thought we would share as well, because when you're teaching diverse learners, they at one point or another are going to have to, in elementary, build these skills as they move on to the next panel of education.
Mm-hmm.
So, any questions, any thoughts for today's presentation?
Valerian,
No, it was really good.
Everybody. You need to unmute everybody.
I think that,
You have to unmute everybody if they want to talk.
I did so, but
Are you sure? Is everybody unmuted? If you please,
Yes,
unmute yourselves.
I felt the presentation was excellent, and it gave me it pushed my thinking in some ways, so it's making me reevaluate a few things of what I'm doing, and I think that that's the whole beauty of like professional development. So
right.
I appreciate all of your input and
Thank you
information.
very much. Okay,
Anybody else?
then.
Okay.
Anyone else wants to say something? Chat, send the message.
So Alynne, where in Florida are you teaching? In Miami?
No, I'm in Claremont, but we're being shut down tonight at midnight. They finally, we're one of the major spots, and so our governor was dragging his heels. So as of midnight tonight, we will be shut down. We will only be able to do essential things.
In Florida.
Yes,
Wow, okay.
yes.
Okay.
And our schools are currently closed. I mean, Walmart's just had a run on things, you know, but it's quite different than anything. I mean, I was born during Hurricane Hazel, and I lived through, you know, the nuclear threat of Cuba to the United States, and yet this is unlike anything I have ever encountered.
Well, Europe is the same way. The only place that isn't is Sweden. They're not doing. We have been in like quarantine for 4 weeks now.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was on a cruise ship and came back and had to self quarantine. So,
Oh,
yeah. So, you know, it's been quite the experience. And we've just draw on resources that we never thought we'd had to draw on before, you know, and we go into our teacher's toolbox of creativity and thinking on our feet with these children.
Yeah, so much to be an international teacher to travel. I'm stuck in a 30-square-meter apartment. So.
Yes, I did it for 19 years. Nothing happened. I come back to the States, everything happens. What can I say?
Okay, well, thank you so much. Now, will you be sending links for the new webinars if you have our
send you a feedback form, so in Google Forms, and if you take a few minutes to write your comments and so to say evaluate today's our presentation. Also, we'll attach this video recording and presentation to the email.
Oh, super.
And also we'll be sending out PDF documents, what we shared, me and Dr. Alynne today. So we'll be attaching these documents to your emails as well. So you'll be able to access to all the information we shared today.
Great.
We'd like to thank you so much for attending and for sharing with us, and you know, and being there for your kids right now, and you know, we'll get through this, but what both of us just want to extend to all of you is please stay healthy, please stay safe, and you know, we encourage you to reach out to you can reach out to us through our website, or reach out to somebody if you're finding that it's just becoming too much, because 4 weeks moves to 8 weeks, and all of a sudden you're going stir crazy and you don't know what to do with these children. And really, this is, if we are true educators, we want to be with these children through the good times and through the bad. And so we need to be there for them, and we need to be able to help them the best way we know how. So please reach out to whomever you can, and we encourage that. And thank you, Valerian, for setting this whole thing up.
Such a wonderful.
Thank you.
And see you soon, right?
All right. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Thanks. Bye-bye.